What is going on, everyone? And welcome back to the Star Wars Exchange. Wow, we're back for another Ahsoka Aftershow. And how good does it feel to be watching this sort of Star Wars again? We're absolutely loving it. That was just a historic moment in Star Wars history, I reckon, episode 6 of Ahsoka. Mike and I literally just watched it together. And yeah, I think we both feel a bit speechless. Like, it's just incredible what Dave Filoni and the team have pulled off with this show. And man, we're so ready to talk about this despite our speechlessness. But I'm actually not joined by Mike today. I'm joined by Mr. Rivera because Mike's got a new job, guys, and man, we're very proud of our guy here at the SW Exchange Show. So shout out, Mr. Rivera, and buddy, how you going this week?
Hey, what's up? I did not expect that intro. I don't know what to say, but thank you for having me. Yeah, it's life is throws crazy things in our way, but we make do. Like Ezra did not foresee any of that coming, and he came up with a plan, and he executed it, and he followed through, and he dealt with the consequences after, right? So
That's
that's me right now. I feel very tired after teaching middle school for a whole day, whole week it's been, but we move. But yeah, what a great time just to live for these Tuesdays to watch Ahsoka. And like I said
mm,
last week, it's just such a treat to be looking forward to the show every week because I'm genuinely enjoying this show a lot. I don't think it's one of the great pieces in Star Wars ever, not even last week's episode, but I still do really, really enjoy this. And I think it's hitting all the right beats for me. And what more can I want? I like I said, I'm not totally blown away by the show. I'm not even blown away by the show, but I think in a sense like I'm just very moved by it, and it's um the on this show just has big shoulders. Like it's been able to cover like just carry that legacy of Rebels in such a very nice way to honor the show, but yet bring in new people that you haven't really known Rebels and all that, and make them interested in stuff. And like, who are these characters and who are these characters? And you definitely get the sense like, oh shoot, I think I need to catch up on homework to be able to understand this, but I think it's kind of good homework to do and stuff. So good reading to do. So yeah, this show has just baffled me in all the good ways. Like I'm like, how did they pull this off, and how were they able to like bring in all these like characters that you had to watch on Disney XD like almost 10 years ago? Like it's insane. So
yeah.
just it's incredible. And like we'll sit here and crap on like some of the creative processes that happen on the for the Disney Plus service, but this is one of those moments I'm like, thank you Disney Plus for existing, because we would have not got the show any other way. This is truly like a spectacle. So yeah, what a great week, and what a great day that we're having, just witnessing what we witnessed. But how are you doing, Ari?
Man.
How are things on your end?
No, I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, I'm healthier than I've been recently, and back out and about, which is good. But who cares about that? Let's talk about Ahsoka. Let's just get stuck into Ahsoka because I'm right there with you. I said just before this episode, like I think I agree. Like I'm not entirely like blown away. Like this is incredible, but I'm like, this is just some of the most fun I've ever had with Star Wars. Like I'm just enjoying watching this so much week to week. Like you said, like I'm like, man, it's Wednesday morning again. Like, let's go, new Ahsoka episode. So it's right up there with the enjoyment that this is as much fun as I've had since like Siege of Mandalore, Rebels, since Rebels was going, or the early days of Force Awakens and Rogue One. Like, I'm just having so much fun right now. It's definitely the most fun I've had with the Disney Plus show. Like, no disrespect to any of the others, but I'm just like, this is just awesome, and I hope it continues in this trajectory. But man, yeah, I'm right there with you. Do you have any other like overall thoughts you want to go on before we start breaking it down?
It just feels like Christmas every time I watch this. Christmas morning every time I watch this show. Like it's just I just want to like open every like just mystery box, and I just want to get to like where's Thrawn, where's Ezra, and we got that this week. So yeah, like I'm very tired, so I might not seem excited, but I am like just very excited to talk about this episode. So I'm ready.
No, likewise. You said it feels like Christmas, man. I wish this show came out around Christmas because it just feels so like Star Warsy. I don't know why they felt the need to push it out in August or whenever it debuted. I wish this came out around November, December. Like that feels like the Star Wars season for me, especially. I mean, I guess that's sort of out of their control. They thought Skeleton Crew would be coming out then, and then that's been delayed because of the strikes and all that. Anyway, I wish the show came out at a better time of the year, but I mean, that's barely a gripe. Man, yeah, I have so many thoughts, but let's go through the episode as it was. We started off with Ahsoka and Huyang, and as Huyang says, man, he's done it all now. He's done it all now. 10,000 years of existence or whatever it is, and he's traversing from one galaxy to another, and he feels very accomplished about himself. So I'm really happy for Huyang. But no, Ahsoka and him have a good chat about the Jedi Temple, the stories that they were told, and how this feels like. I mean, there was a lot of conversation throughout the whole episode about this. This just feels like a story that I was told as a child, but no, it's really coming true. And I almost feel the same as a viewer, like just in the sense of, oh my god, we've heard so much about, or so much or so little, I don't even know, but just about going from one galaxy to another, finding Ezra and Thrawn. It feels like something I've heard about nonstop for 6 years, and then we're finally there. Anyway, but they had a nice conversation. Then it all leads into the Huyang saying, "It's a long. Let me tell you a story. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away." Honestly, it kind of rolled my eyes. It was a little bit cringeworthy, but in hindsight, I'm like, you know what? With the way the episode went, I thought, actually, no, that's kind of cute. I don't mind that. But then we were off, and we didn't see Ahsoka and Huyang again. But yeah, what do you think of that opening couple of minutes, Mike?
Yeah, I gotta say this. People have complained about the intros to Ahsoka. This was really nice. I mean, yeah, it's like roll of the eye moment, but for me, I was just I think it was the music that made me feel otherwise. And again, like I say every week, the music is important to communicating what's on the screen. It just enhances the story, if anything, and it did, and the experience. Once you get the opening logos to Ahsoka, um, I don't know if you noticed this, but did you hear the same beats from the music that's played when the temple is collapsing in season 4 of Rebels? When
No,
Ezra pulls,
I didn't pick up on that.
when
But
Ezra
I've got to
puts his
rewatch. Yeah.
fist, when Ezra puts his fist against the temple wall, and he like just when he's supposed to shut the door to the world between worlds, it was like those same beats that were playing, and I was like, oh my god, like I was like, I just heard the similar beats, and I was like, oh my god, like we're in for a treat today. And then it said far, far away, and I was like, oh yeah, like we're getting it this week. We're getting the big dog, Ezra Bridger. But yeah, this opening scene, like I said, I just love seeing Ahsoka in that like white outfit and everything, and her character feels totally alive now. It doesn't feel so dead, you know. Just I'm glad we didn't see her in the cockpit, just sitting there with her arms folded, being like, Yang, we've been over this before. Like it was just such a different vibe, and I love that. And last week's episode was making that direct point of what's happened to Ahsoka, right? So I especially enjoyed their conversation in the cockpit. And it was the only time we saw them in the episode, which fair enough because we had a lot to get into. But
Yeah.
like I said, I enjoyed seeing Ahsoka and Huyang. Just even every time I see him, I'm just like taken aback by, wow, I cannot believe we were introduced to this guy like 10 years ago, and now we're seeing him in live action. Like it's just, and we made a whole journey with Ahsoka. Like Ahsoka is like my top 2 favorite Star Wars characters ever. Like I personally have just mirrored my life like a lot like Ahsoka's, and she is just the character for me, alongside like Kanan Jarrus and stuff. But Ahsoka's is one of those characters that it's like I lived for. And after she left the Jedi Temple, what happened to her, and now that she's sitting here in the cockpit with Huyang talking about like even her the time before her, I'm just like, we've just gone like everywhere with Ahsoka. And it's just, I know a lot of people complain about that, but I'll complain about that too, but then I'll sit there and be like appreciative of that because I just love her character. So yeah, like I love these just moments where they just get to sit down and have little chats like that. But like I said, the opening logos, the best one they've had so far. That was great.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm I'm with you just on the whole like going everywhere with Ahsoka. Sometimes you can sit and be like, oh, does Ahsoka need to be in this? But um, yeah, overall it's been like amazing just following her journey. Like from it goes from the temple, she left the temple, what happened to her then? And then we see her in Rebels, and then it's what happened to her after the fight with Vader, and then they go back and they say, well, actually, this is what happened to her after the temple, and then now they go back and say, well, this is what happened to her after the fight. It's like putting all these pieces together. There's not much. They couldn't have picked a much better character to have exposed us to so much. You know what I mean? Because Ahsoka's great. I will say I was kind of annoyed because at the opening I felt like Ahsoka kind of took a step back from where she was at the end of last episode. The episode ended with Hera saying her saying to Hera, "Oh, Ahsoka, like, oh no, Hera, we'll bring them both home, whatever." So it's sort of putting aside that whole like, well, we need to sacrifice the greater good, and if that means Ezra is banished, then that's what that means. And then she was sort of back to that mindset at the start of this episode, not entirely, but it was I wish she was a little bit more forthcoming to the idea of, I guess just having hope of like, we will save Ezra and we will defeat Thrawn. You know what I mean? Instead of just being like, and now it's open. Like, just still, I felt like she took a back step and went a little pessimistic again. It wasn't quite the same, but I don't know. What do you think of that?
No, I totally see what you're saying, because she was like, she went again playing the master role, being like, well, it's Sabine. I fear Sabine did it all for selfish reasons.
Yeah.
She definitely played the master role in that. And then I love like Huyang's kind of rebuttal to her, that kind of made her think for a second. But no, I did feel that, because it felt like this, like, not to compare this to that, but it almost felt like, oh my god, we're seeing Rey going and finding Luke Skywalker. It's like, oh my god, she found Luke Skywalker. The next movie is just like the lightsaber is thrown and whatever.
Sure.
Again, not to compare it to that, but it wasn't that bad of a whiplash, but it just was definitely a step back. But I mean, I only think it's like, well, yeah, I mean, she is valid. I don't think the entire ride there, she's gonna be smiling, be like, "Let's go get Ezra, let's go get Ezra."
But like the 2-week travel, she's just like,
Exactly,
I'm happy
yeah.
now.
Exactly, I'm happy again. No, it's gonna be definitely having those thoughts on that. So to me, I was like, oh, okay, she's bringing up something that's a valid concern, but she's sticking through with going and saving Sabine and whatever comes along with that.
No, okay, I appreciate that explanation. That'll be my headcanon. Also, I said this to Jasper before the episode even started. We've had a lot of talk, the three of us, about the live action Purgle, but in the recap, I was like, I just had the thought, man, I'd hate to be like, imagine like the Purgle whose job it is, like the Purgle dentist, like the local Purgle dentist. They must have a really tough job, because have you seen how many teeth those guys have? Like, if you were to take an X-ray of the Purgle, you'd be like, wow, well, like, your 178th tooth up here is a bit. Just a thought I had.
Just
Do you not agree?
You know what? Bring back the Purgle teeth that were in Rebels.
Yeah,
bring
exactly.
back those teeth.
Those dentists don't have, have to
No.
file through. Like, imagine flossing. Oh my god,
There's
you've got
there's
so
too many jobs out there. You just
Yeah.
can't have that. And there's too many whales to take care of. No.
Yeah. I mean, I would say every second Purgle would have to just have like a degree in, being a dentist or whatever degree they undergo, because they must have. They need to really sort out their hygiene.
I don't know. I think Ahsoka and her 2-week travel, I think she's gotta get busy and start and get out the ship and do something with her life. I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. Anyways, that was weird. Maybe we'll post that on
Jesus.
Instagram. But no, a serious thought was, I was glad. I really love the pacing of the show in general, the way they chop it up in terms of who gets how much screen time where and where the attention goes. And I liked that. Last week we got no Sabine, because that really worked with what we were seeing, and then this week it was pretty much all Sabine, but we still got that anecdote with Ahsoka. I just like the way this show is edited and chopped up, and the pacing. I'm like, yeah, I'm just super on board with that. I hope that continues, because I think throughout all 6 episodes I've liked that. And I mean, it'll be interesting to see how they juggle the Hera storyline, if they even pursue that at all in these next 2 episodes. So anyway, really liked that. But yeah, man, we then get past the title screen and we're in a new galaxy. How about that? Wouldn't have thought we were going to be seeing that recently, but bang, we're in the new galaxy. I think that's pretty awesome. What were your initial thoughts? We got Nightsisters straight away. We saw these Lothwolf looking creatures that aren't Lothwolves. And I thought overall, it just looked great. It looks like they would have filmed a lot of that at an outdoor location somewhere. And I was really happy with the way it looked for the most part. I thought compared to other, like, in the Obi-Wan series, when they went outdoor to do some filming, it just looked like, some hills out out in excuse me, some hills out in California somewhere. So yeah, anyways, what did you think of the new galaxy?
I thought a great location. I mean, I love that, people complain about the cinematography and some of the background colors and everything, and they'll say it looks sluggish and grayish and all that stuff and boring. But I definitely felt that type of grayish color definitely enhance the weirdness and oddity that is this planet. I mean, a lot of it reminded me of when we were on Dathomir in the first Jedi Fallen Order game. Well, in Jedi Fallen Order. Just desolate. You know that there's things around the corner, but you just don't know what. I definitely got that feeling. So that was cool. But it was so surreal. Again, I love being able to say that I love Star Wars Rebels and I love the Clone Wars. Idiots and incels back in the day, and still some now would argue about, the Clone Wars is better. No, Star Wars Rebels is better. It's like you can sit there and love both and appreciate both. I mean, if I want a cinematic experience, I'll watch the Clone Wars any day. If I want something heartfelt, casual going, a bit more intimate, I'll watch Rebels, but the two shows serve different purposes for me. So the fact that, so I love both series a ton, and it's like my go-to Star Wars, period. The fact that we saw Nightsisters in live action like that, blown away. Like, I'm just, again, it was, I just got chills. I was like, oh man, that is so cool. That is so cool that, we just get to see that in live action. And the same thing, like their voice was like kind of echoed like the way Mother Tausen's was in Clone Wars. I'm like, this is so cool. It's so rad. So again, I just want to go back to my 10-year-old self and tell myself, like, like, oh my God, in, I don't know, 15 some years, this is gonna happen. Like, it's just crazy. It's just something that I have to mention and go on about, because it's just just that important to me. So anyways, but yeah, I thought this location was great. It was very eerie that this was a graveyard for Purgil. I thought that was that was very creepy. But I very much love that concept because of the camera, when it kind of like zoomed in on the planet and took us through. Absolutely love that you just saw bone and carcass just floating in space. When you think those are asteroids, it's like, no, it's dead Purgo. I'm like, that very, very cool stuff. And like I said, thought the planet was cool, desolate, creepy, and all that. So yeah, very cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the Nightsisters was, I don't know, that was really unexpected to me. I
No,
liked
yeah.
that they were the ones talking to Morgan Elsbeth, because I remember thinking in the second episode where she's sort of hearing like a vision or a calling, I was like, that's just not, I don't know. I was like, I don't like the idea of Thrawn like sitting there being like,
All
"Morgan,
right.
come and find me." I just, it seems kind of weird to me. So I
Yeah.
like that that's what it was, and that all, I don't know, it all just makes sense as a Star Wars fan. I'm like, yep, that makes sense. Great.
And
In terms of, sorry, you go on.
I just want to say, and did I just lose my thought? No way. The Night Sisters. There's something there that I wanted to say about the Night Sisters. Oh well, I'll come. back to me, I'm sure. Anyways,
We'll
sorry,
circle
continue.
back. We'll circle back when you think of it. But yeah, just my thoughts on the new Galaxy, whatever we're calling it. I thought it was great. I thought it looked good. I thought just that the feeling of it was nice. And I said this to Mike already, but I just love Dave Filoni is in his element when he's writing about the mystical side of Star Wars. If it's I want people like him writing about the world between worlds, the new galaxy, the Purgle, that sort of stuff. Even the Jedi. Um, and I'm just so happy with the way he's treated this. It doesn't feel like a cash grab to be like, come check out the new galaxy. Oh, look at our time traveling portal. Like it's never like that. It always makes sense and it really serves the narrative. And I really appreciate that about Dave Filoni. But yeah, seeing Nightsisters in live action, I can't add to what you've already said. But yeah, same idea of wow. I just could not have possibly believed as a kid watching Clone Wars that would translate 15 odd years later or whatever it is. So yeah, that was great. Did you get your thought back?
Yes. First, want to note that the mother, she had like this specific headwear that we seen in Clone Wars before. It one of the Sith ghost on Morabon when Yoda goes there to confront the Sith. I thought that was cool. I'm like, oh yeah, that kind of cone shaped thing. That was cool. And then absolutely chills when Morgan Elsbeth was like, where's Thrawn? Is he coming? Can I talk to him? And they're like, you will wait. I was like, oh, all right, they got some spice to them. They got a kick. That just want to point that out because that literally made me like laugh, and I was like, oh, that kind of scared me a little.
Well, all right. Well, if you want to spook Mike this Halloween, now we know how. I mean, we don't even celebrate Halloween in Australia. That's weird. Anyways, let's talk about it though. He's back, Mister Blue, whatever you call him, Thrawn. Never ever heard anyone call him Mister Blue. Just made that up. But anyway, man, this was fantastic, man. To hear a voice, the exact same voice that we already know him as, you could just close your eyes and listen, and it was great. I thought he looked pretty good too. It's never going to be perfect, but I think I thought it was very solid, just the whole appearance. And yeah, just the whole the Star Destroyer approaching the battalion of stormtroopers, and they were even like I just noticed little things like Thrawn as it really just felt like it fit his character for his uniform to still be so clean. But then if you look on like the around his neck, there was like little markings. You could tell that it had been really worn down because he's been wearing it for 10 odd years. But then he still put that effort in. Just little things like that I really appreciated. And then the stormtroopers obviously having that all like that banished look of like, yeah, they've been out and about without any normal society for however long it's been. So the introduction was great. He sounded incredible. Everything he said just lined up with the Thrawn we know, but it felt and I think I felt the same with Ezra, but we'll get to that. Same but different. You know what I mean? I like that they stuck to the character's roots, but it looks like they're going to sort of evolve beyond what we already know about him. So, man, I'm very interested to hear your thoughts as someone who has read a lot of the Thrawn novels and all that sort of stuff. What did you think of the live action debut of the Grand Admiral?
Fascinating. I think I definitely have come to terms with Dave Filoni's interpretation of Thrawn is very different than Timothy Zahn's interpretation of Thrawn. I've made peace with that. We would all jump to straws and try to connect bridges that just weren't there with Thrawn's characterization in Rebels and some of the things he would do where it's like, oh, he's not really the bad guy. But I've just come to terms with that they're just going to do their own thing in live action, even though the books have kind of done things otherwise, but that's okay. But for me, reading about Thrawn, and I've had a couple conversations with Thrawn creator Timothy Zahn, and every time I'm just gushing over the Thrawn character because Thrawn is like one of my favorite characters. I've read all the canon Thrawn books, working my way through the expanded universe ones, the Legends ones. So yeah, I kind of know a bit about Thrawn, but and just like I just had that blue hype rush when Thrawn came out in Rebels. Like I tried to get everything Thrawn, figure wise and everything, but the only thing I could get my hands on was a Black Series. But all that to say, I'm a big fan of Thrawn, so I was very much looking forward to this. Lars Mikkelsen said though that his Thrawn was going to, or his voice was going to be a bit different than he was in Rebels, and I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
Like
it was the same.
it's the same thing, and I love it. Like don't change it. You don't have to change
Yeah.
it. And
If
I
it ain't
think
broke,
Arya
don't
said
fix
it.
it.
You said what?
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
I mean, Ari was like, if when I would close my eyes, I would just hear that
Mm.
Thrawn or see that Thrawn for Rebels. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I didn't even have to close my eyes. I'm like, oh, it's Thrawn. Like, it was just that good. So I thought Lars' performance was great. Even the head tilts were good, and I thought he added his own thing to the character. So I thought that was great, like physical performance wise on that physicality. But yeah, like it was just great. Like I don't like I didn't expect it to be anything different. I mean, sure, like, it's like Thrawn looks a bit different in animation, but that's animation. Like, this is live action. Not to say it's superior, but it's like this goes along with the movies, if you want to elevate them, I see the movies on this like golden platter. Not to say that, Rebels and Clone Wars aren't up there, but it's just like the movies, like that is just forever will be Star Wars. And the fact that we're getting to see like this blue Grand Admiral that has been so like raved about for so many decades, and we finally get to see him in live action. Like, come on, like how exciting, and especially rewarding for all us Rebels fans and all that. But yeah, that was great. As soon as the Star Destroyer came into view, I was like, oh, we're getting Thrawn now. Like
Mhm.
I was like, oh great. Like I just got excited, and then I was like, wait, is that even his Star Destroyer? And then you just saw the patches that were on the ship, and then
Yeah.
you saw the Chimera on the bottom, and I was like, oh man, that is
Oh,
sick.
that was
Like
great.
that is, and I just got chills because I'm like, the last time we saw the Star Destroyer, it was being lugged by space whales to the unknown. So now we got to see the unknown, and we got to see this ship again, and I love that we got to see the those Imperial gunships in the back, the ones that went to pick up Ezra when he went, or no, he flew to the ship himself, but those Imperial gunships that we see in Rebels and stuff, they were just docked there, and I was like, oh man, I don't know, just so cool that it's one of those things that I'll look back in a month and be like, did that really happen? Like right now, it just kind of we're just reacting to it, but it just, oh man, I could have like an hour conversation about just Thrawn himself and that, but great. I loved it. Lars brought his own um different movements to the character and didn't keep it kind of wooden like the Thrawn that we saw in the Rebels. Like he had his own posture and everything. So I like that. I would, if I was in that position, I would definitely add my own flavor rather than trying to mimic the screen, even though he's played the character already. So that was great. And stormtroopers look very cool. Everything felt very Legends EU to me. So
Mm,
that was
that's a
cool.
good point.
Everything felt like that kind of like, yeah, that just the storytelling from the 90s, but those creators would have done after the original trilogy. So all that
Yeah.
felt very dated, but in a very good way.
Yeah, for sure. No, I second everything you said. I think as well that interaction with Sabine and Thrawn was fantastic.
Oh,
I mean,
have,
uh,
did
go.
they have any interactions in Rebels like face to face? I'm trying to remember.
Uh, it
Maybe
feels like
from
surely they
afar.
did. Well, I know in don't they bring up his hologram in the when in the finale when they're there and they're all sort of yapping at him. I don't know,
Hmm.
man. We got to do our homework on that. But man, yeah, this was just such a great interaction. Although it did somewhat bring up one of the criticism of the show that I keep harping on about is like it feels like there would be so much more emotion. Maybe not from Thrawn because that is sort of a big part of his character is that he's so calm under any pressure or any extravagant circumstance. So, but I wish Sabine was like sort of like surely your jaw would just be on the floor that you've just seen Thrawn, the person that you threw everything at, you sacrificed your best friend just to defeat this guy, and you've just seen him. You're in a new galaxy with a bunch of stormtroopers, surely your jaw is just on the floor, like, I cannot believe this. But it seems sort of so like, oh, Thrawn, yeah, you're back. Like, I can tell she's phased by it, but I just wish there was a bit more like gravity to some of this stuff. And like, I thought that they dealt with it, on Ezra's side of things very well, but it feels like so much more of a big deal to the audience than it is to the characters. When I feel like it should be a huge deal to the characters, especially Sabine, that Thrawn has just come back like this. Despite that, though, the interaction was great. It was so cool. Thrawn was like, the writing for him was so top notch. Whereas, for Sabine, it sort of lacks sometimes, but for Thrawn, I thought it was great. Matt, yeah, what a cool interaction. What are your thoughts?
No, yeah, I totally felt that because I'm like, I feel like almost Sabine should have been kind of lounging at him, trying to throw a punch or something.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, exactly.
because she lost Kanan because of him. She lost Ezra because of him. So, and it changed her, So I feel like she would have, been a bit more reactionary to that. But I mean, we are dealing with an older Sabine, so it's like the Sabine that we know could have just those moments of outbursts could have just been something because of her age and whatnot. But yeah, since we're dealing with an older Sabine, it could be a bit different. But I would still like to hear that. I would still love to hear Tia Sakar being like, Thrawn, or like,
Yeah,
where's
yeah.
like, Thrawn, you should be dead, or you
Or
could just
like, what
come
did
up
you do to him? Where is he?
exactly.
Like,
Where's
it's like, where's the
Ezra?
urgency? Come on, like,
Right. Yeah. Yeah, for
yeah,
sure, for sure. So, but absolutely, I was floored that the two characters were standing there, and not only just that, but in live action. I'm like, are we really doing this? Like, it's still insane to me, but it was still like, again, close your eyes and just hear it out, and it's just
mm,
like Rebels playing out, and I'm like, I cannot believe we're here. So yeah, so even I have to mention Sabine, that moment where she was like trying to use the Force. And we're gonna get that scene soon where she actually uses the Force, but where she's trying to
yeah.
use the Force, and then it's what rocks up behind her. Was it did someone open the door? Was it the Star Destroyer that
I think
came
it was the
into
Star
view?
Destroyer.
That
Yeah,
was so cool. That was so cool. So, but yeah, you're right. I would have totally loved to see Sabine just like be as expression as we were being like, oh my god, like Thrawn and Sabine. But yeah, like Thrawn knows all about Sabine, and he's like, oh, you brought Sabine, oh, that would be perfect. Bring her to me. Yeah, he knows exactly who he's dealing with. Even this happened later in the episode, but when Thrawn said Ahsoka Tano, I was like, oh man, because they never crossed paths in Rebels, and they were in different seasons, but oh my god, that was in itself chilling to hear Thrawn say, and he's like, "Bring me everything you know about her, her master." Her. I was like, "Oh my god." Well, I thought since he had no time, he would have figured all that out already. But still, that was very cool.
yeah, no doubt. We'll sort of jump around a little bit here, but let's talk about the other returning character. So obviously, they send Sabine off on the Howler, I think they're calling them, and then she stumbles across some samurai people, which I don't know that the locals they seem to be. That was interesting. Obviously, Baylan and Shin are following her. We'll get to Baylan because he sort of has his own arc this episode. And then she stumbles across these little creatures, which at first I was sort of like, what is happening here? And then I literally when we were interacting with that first one, and then a few of them that pop up, and there's like 4 or 5 of them, and I turned to Jasper and I was like, these really seem like they're friends. These guys really seem like they're friends with Ezra. There's just something about it, like, and of course they were. Sabine goes into the village, and I told Mike this. It feels like major. You're more of a Clone Wars expert than me. What are the episodes with Ayla Secura in season 1 of Clone Wars in that small village?
Defenders of Peace,
Yeah, it reminded me of that arc so much, just with like the little society they have going there.
Lerman. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, she's wandering around, and then I think everyone was literally on the edge of their seats waiting for that shot to happen where our guy wanders in, and eventually he does, and he said, he knew he could count on her, and then I will say, the moment it definitely wasn't ruined for me, but I was sort of like, uh, the line where he says, "Gee, like you took your time" or something. I was like, I could have wrote that myself. Like that just felt like the most predictable line. Uh, Nonetheless, the scene goes on and the two embrace, and this was a moment where I felt like the even though maybe to someone from who hasn't seen Rebels, it might seem like there wasn't much gravity to this, but I thought it was done perfectly. I thought that's exactly how the characters would have interacted after all they've been through. The hug was just beautiful. The music was transcending. It really, yeah, really touched me emotionally. I'm sure it did others as well. But yeah, I've been waiting for to like so many others for Ezra to come back like this for a long, long time. So to finally see him up there was great. And for me, it really felt like a lot of this show, Ezra being like a favorite character of mine, or well, straight up my favorite character. I was like, everything could be bad and Ezra could be good, and I'd still like it. Or if everything was good and Ezra was done badly, I probably wouldn't like it. Like maybe, and that's probably unfair on the creators, but that's just how I feel about that character. And I thought it was done great. It's obviously such a small anecdote. What we've got is like literally only a minute, but man, I thought it was just done beautifully. I like the casting choice. I think it definitely same with Thrawn. It feels different, but the same. I like that. I think in hindsight, I'm like, I really would have hated if they had have done a Ezra turned evil or whatever that sort of arc. Or Ezra joined Thrawn. I love what they've done with him. It feels so authentic. It feels like a grown up version of that teenager that we saw in Rebels, wandering around, mucking around with Loth cats or tapping into the dark side. It just felt perfect to me. And then the chemistry between Sabine and Ezra was great. I love that friendship. And I thought those two actors that have never had a scene together before, I'm guessing, they really captured that beautifully. And man, it's just set up, just a crazy next 2 weeks of Ahsoka to see what the conversations that are going to be had. And I think Ezra literally says, "Oh my god, I have so many questions," and I immediately thought about making a meme of you with his face with all the promos we've been making about questions and stuff. I was like, Mike is literally Ezra right now. But
Oh my
anyways,
god.
no, this was so good. Honestly, I was so touched by this. But Mike, what were your thoughts? I know you loved it as well.
Oh man, yeah. I didn't even honestly, I didn't even expect Ezra so soon. I I don't know where the turtle people reminded me of Turgle from Jedi Survivor. So
Oh yes,
so he
yes,
reminded me from that,
that's
and
so true.
then the song what was the song in Jedi Survivor? It was something star, I wonder where you are. And then I got sad, and then my emotions were interrupted when I hear a familiar voice. I'm like, huh? And then, I mean, like, it was like a man's voice. I'm like, huh? Like, so it brought me back into the show, even though I was daydreaming about Survivor for a second. And I'm like, oh my God, it's Ezra Bridger. Like, I was so caught off guard. Like, I was just completely um just thrown to one side, being like, oh my God, wait, it's really Ezra. And I was just like, it's so funny because we we've not grown attached to this version of Ezra, and not even to this style. So it's like the fact that it was a completely different iteration of Ezra, and we were sitting there like, oh my God, with our mouths, agape and all that, and just feeling all the emotions, and exactly what you said about the two actors who never shared a scene, but you just felt all the emotion, like that
Mhm.
superb acting from them both, because they genuinely,
Yeah.
you just felt the chemistry there, and
Yeah,
and it
they
just
definitely
worked
captured the
perfectly.
magic from Rebels and put it into this show.
Yes, yes, and it was just great, and Ezra looks great, he sounds great. My only question is, how the hell is Ezra so close to Thrawn, and they just have not done, like, there's just been no, to me that is just so blatantly stupid. Like, I it kind of almost ruined the moment for me, where I'm like, wait, he was in a village nearby, and your Thrawn
Yeah,
is
but they're
is
always on the move.
no, no, just no. That no, that was poor writing on that end, because I was like, that just, you're telling me that I just I was not, I didn't want this to be this whole thing, because I didn't want to hype it up too much of Thrawn and Ezra's story, because in my head canon, using the Thrawn version that Timothy Zahn has written for the books, for the canon books, I totally saw Thrawn now being removed from the Empire, working with Ezra to survive, and both of them coming together to survive, and not necessarily Ezra turning into an Imperial, or not necessarily Thrawn turning into a rebel, but I definitely saw it that way. I understand that Dave Filoni loves Thrawn from the '90s, and what's that villain-esque character, and he's trying to adapt the Heir to the Empire storyline into the Mandoverse, right? But man, I just would have so killed to see that Ezra and Thrawn working together. I know, you know, crap just happened between them. Ezra lost his master because of Thrawn's factories, but it just would have been so cool for the Thrawn that was being created and developed over in the books. Like seriously, read them. It's a fascinating Thrawn, more fascinating than the one we've gotten in Rebels, and I'm gonna assume here. But anyways, putting that aside, still just seeing Ezra alive and well, even though he's so nearby Thrawn, doesn't make sense to me. But I'm gonna move past that, because if not, I'm gonna rant about it. But again, just seeing Ezra there, one of my favorite characters in Star Wars ever. Oh man, just puts you in emotionally, because you think about all the times, because Ezra was the focus for Rebels, Ahsoka was the focus for Clone Wars, and these characters are about to like I know they've already met before and they've already crossed paths, but we're gonna see them together again. And to me, I'm just and in live action too, I'm like, we have a character representing one era and another character representing another era. If it's for Star Wars in my life, and I'm just like, I'm just so unprepared. I'm so mentally unprepared for when Ahsoka and Ezra like reunite
Oh,
as well. Ezra, however, is gonna be like, why didn't you come find me? You know, like she promised, she said she would. It was Sabine first, but whatever. It's one of those moments where you, like you said, like not everything lines up exactly how Rebels left things off, but it's
yeah.
all right. But still, though, Ezra's back. I just couldn't be more happy, because when we saw the hologram of Ezra, I mean, I thought he looked good, but that was goofy. Like that
I
was
don't think
goofy.
they're ever putting that orange suit on him in
I
live
hope.
action. It
I
does not
hope not.
translate well.
I hope he keeps the beard, and if he doesn't, he still will look
Oh, I don't.
great. You don't. You want him to get the beard off?
I just selfishly, I just want him to get back to like the closest he can possibly get to looking like he did in Rebels without putting the orange suit back on.
Without
I
the
want to put
orange
some
suit.
Jedi robes on him or something.
Okay.
And man, I loved the scar on his face. That was just
Oh, I didn't
perfect.
even catch that.
Yeah,
But
I only caught it on my rewatch, but I saw it and I was like, yes, chef's kiss. That's so good.
I'm glad they went with the beard, because it
No,
reminds me of that.
absolutely. For this, yeah, yeah.
It reminds me of that concept, or that fan concept art someone did with an older
Yes,
Ezra
I
Bridger
thought of that too. Yeah,
with
yeah,
the
yeah,
beard. So it
yeah,
just it was like, man, everything's just lining up so perfectly with
yeah.
how some things we just thought would align very well. And yeah, just man, Ezra. I mean, it's just so funny. Whereas I got a lot of questions. I'm like, what? But for me also, I'm like, I get he's stranded, and he's probably made peace that he's stranded there. But my God, just how much has he missed out on?
Yeah.
How
Well, he
much has
said he
he?
has a lot of questions, so
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how they do this, but
dude,
it's just so
imagine
bizarre.
Ezra and Jason, like, meeting for the first time, or even just
Exactly.
Ezra finding out about Jason, like okay, last thing though on the beard, I'm glad he had it for, like, that first interaction, but I hope, like, by the end of the series, he gets, like, clean shaven and has a clean look. But, man, this is a whole rabbit hole that I don't wanna get into, but I just wanna say the thought I had. We could do, like, a whole video on this, but, I'm
He's
just
not
like, man,
kidding.
is Ezra gonna go to like Luke's temple or something, and does like Ben Solo kill Ezra? Like, is Ezra on like the Jedi Council Luke was forming? Like, oh, I'm just like, now that we've got Ezra back, I'm so scared I'm gonna lose him again. You know what I mean? I'm like
Uh,
Anakin in Revenge of the Sith. Like, nothing's gonna stop me from
Ezra
keeping Ezra with us.
Ezra will be in the Dave Filoni movie. You can count on it.
Yeah, I think you can count on that. I will say a few thoughts on what you said. The Ahsoka Ezra duo, I was sort of thinking similar in just the sense of like, yeah, the main character that was hated at the start of the show and then comes in and then, becomes beloved. Ahsoka and Ezra have, they shared that journey in the sense that they both went through it. Um, yeah, I'm so glad this show is like, it's Ahsoka's show. Obviously, she's the name of the show, but I'm glad that like the show is almost about bringing those two together. Like I love that duo so much, and that what we saw in the World Between Worlds. I know there was a lot of interactions with them in season 2, but in the World Between Worlds, I thought was so great. And I'm like, I just love that this show is about bringing those two characters together because. I mean, for me, Ahsoka would be like probably my third favorite character. So I'm like, not only on that from a selfish perspective, but I just think it's great that these two do come together. It just couldn't seem more perfect to me. I think it's compelling. It's it's everything. I love it.
It's just so surreal. Like I cannot get over it. Like you have to understand. Like you have to be in positions like people in my age and people in Ari's age, just having grown up with Clone Wars or Rebels. Like you just have
Yeah.
to be there. Like yes, we love the movies and everything, but like
Mm.
it was Clone Wars and Rebels that made us love Star
Oh,
Wars for what it was.
absolutely.
Like it just made me realize like how bigger the story was and the possibilities of storytelling in like
Yeah.
already a big universe.
Yeah.
Like Clone Wars just expanded the universe tenfold, and so did Rebels. And alongside you had like these amazing characters like Ahsoka, like Ezra, like
Yeah.
Kanan, like Hera,
And
and
you can spend the time to connect with them emotionally.
yes, exactly. Like you just got that week to week, and it was just a comfort thing for both shows for me. And one was on Friday nights and one had a very bizarre schedule. Like one time it would drop on the Disney app first, the Disney XD app first, and then on demand, and then it would air on Mondays, then Wednesdays, then Thursdays. It just moved around, but I tuned in every week and again just fell in love with these characters. And then here we are just seeing them in live action and for everyone to see, and it's just they're on this big stage. And it's just healing that inner child of me that thought that, you know, adults thought that cartoons sucked, that these cartoons sucked and they weren't
Yeah.
canon in Star Wars. And then look, oh yeah, well guess what?
Yeah,
So I feel
exactly.
very, very enlightened by all this.
I could not agree more. And it's like you say, like these shows are like everything to us. In a Star Wars sense, it's like, I mean, I don't know if you'd agree with this. I'm interested to hear because for me, if I could only hold on to two Star Wars things, it's Rebels and Clone Wars every day of the week.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
Me too.
exactly. Like that's like we love everything, but it's like that's the the core of our love of Star Wars. So yeah, it's incredible seeing all this coming together. I think as well to touch on your thoughts about sort of the how is Ezra so close and Thrawn's never found him and all that sort of stuff. I guess for me, I don't have like a good explanation of why that would be. I guess I sort of just suspended my disbelief a little bit just because I was so caught up in the moment. But maybe as time goes on, I will sort of start to be like, yeah, it's a little. Even now, I'm like, okay, I get it. It's a little goofy, but I hope like when stuff like this happens, I feel like we never get an explanation. Like explain, like just drop. You'd be surprised at how you could Ezra or one of the characters just needs to drop one line and it can explain everything. You know what I mean? So hopefully we get that in the next 2 weeks. I liked Ezra saying, "Oh, we're always on the move, whatever it is." And maybe Sabine was traveling for days and days. We don't know or whatever it is. But I agree, little goofy. But I suppose for me, I was just so swept up in the moment, I could barely even think about that. As well, also the timing of Ezra coming back. I agree with you. I was sort of like, I was talking to Jasper last night about like what is going to happen tomorrow in tomorrow's episode. I just don't know. And then I said, I think we'll get Thrawn back, and I think we'll like get like agonizingly close to Ezra at the end of the episode. But it was like not halfway through. Here's Thrawn. Here's a bunch of scenes with him, and then not even in the final scene of the episode, they were like, oh, and here's Ezra. I was like, what? Like as the episode was going on, I sort of started to feel like, okay, it's going to happen this week. But if you had told me before the show, Ezra and Thrawn come in at episode 6, I wouldn't have believed that. But I'm glad that's what they're doing because now we have 2 episodes to flesh out this whole story, what's been going on with them, what's going to happen in the future, what are the consequences of all the decisions that have been made, especially by Sabine, you know? So I'm really happy with the timing of it.
Yeah, likewise. I'm glad this wasn't saved for the penultimate episode. It's just right at the sweet spot, just when just when you thought things would get a little too close to the end, where you're like, no, when are we gonna get to enjoy these characters and get to be reunited with them? Because I genuinely thought we wouldn't see them till next week. So the fact that we're seeing them this week, I really hope next week we just get to expand and really delve into the meat. Because not that I feel this is all set up, because we've experienced a lot of stuff, a lot
Yeah,
of things with these characters. But I feel like we've yet to hit that climax, and obviously we will. But it's gonna be big. It's gonna be big.
yeah, definitely. And I know we've been talking about it for a long time, but I want to add, you told me something before the episode, and I'll let you say it on the show, but about the music and about how that it hit so much harder because they saved it for the perfect moment. Talk about that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, exactly. So I love that they could have easily beat us over the head with the same themes and stuff, and like, just hit us emotionally for every little thing that doesn't require it. Like if Ahsoka's just talking to Sabine on the T6 shuttle, and then you just randomly hear Sabine's theme just out of nowhere. It's like I would feel like, oh my god, Sabine's theme, what a lovely piece of music. Or, I would get the member berries and think about all the like Sabine's training with the dark saber and all that stuff, and all those like emotional moments with her. But then after a while, I'd be like, okay, yeah, that's Sabine's theme, right? Because now when you hear Darth Vader's theme, it's like, oh yeah, his theme, cool. It's like if we just got beat over the head with that, then it'd be like, great, yeah, we know yeah, we know that's her thing. But they
Yeah,
just saved, like they almost like make you like thirst for all the music that we know and everything. Like when we're hearing similar beats of when we're hearing Thrawn's theme, I was like, oh man, and it was so like stretched out, and like you would barely hear the beat of it, that you were just like seething to hear more of it, right? And then when Ezra and Sabine hug, they just didn't hold back on that one with the theme of just the themes from Rebels, and immediately you were just like, oh, the filled with emotion and all that. So
perfect moment.
absolutely, absolutely, once again, love the music. And like I said, go back to the logo at the beginning. You can hear some of the music that is played when Ezra is putting his fist up on the Mortis gods.
Yeah, and I think it goes to show, if John Williams isn't able to conduct any the future Star Wars movies, which obviously we understand that the guy's like upwards of 90 years old, let's give it to the kindness. I think they really are the next best thing, and by a long way as well. So yeah, completely agree. Flawless execution there. Before we wrap up, let's talk about Baylan Skoll, because he had an interesting arc this episode.
Yes.
Similarly, I'm not even gonna try to say that. My voice is not working today. But in a similar way, I'll say, to how I felt with Ahsoka at the start of the episode, it sort of felt to me like he took a step backwards as well. I really believed him in what he was saying to Sabine in the fourth episode about like, you'll be reunited with your friend, all that, and that he's going to get this promise. But I didn't think that he was going to like make it about a technicality. And he's like, because now I'll be like, well, I told you you'd reunite with your friend, and I did. But it's like, I sort of thought he would set her free to just reunite with them, obviously without affecting them. I sort of didn't love that. However, I loved the scene with Baylan and Shin talking about the Jedi Order, what it meant to him, what it means to him now, and the way he views Ezra. I thought that was great. About I can't remember the exact term that he used, but just his thoughts on Ezra about being like almost like a salvage Jedi who's not even really a Jedi, but he's trying to be type thing. So I really like that. But yeah,
Bogan, I
overall,
think he called him a Bogan Jedi.
some did
It was like a
was it that?
Bogan Jedi. Bogan?
It's something like that. So I thought you were making a joke for a second. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know exactly what it was. Anyways, but no, it was yeah, Baylan had a nice arc this episode, despite I sort of wish, like, I sort of just wish he stayed even truer to what he said just to being, because I really believed that, and that's what made him an interesting character to me. But what did you think of everything Baylan Skoll this episode?
He's another one of those characters that he gets all the best dialogue. Like, come on, when he was saying there being like, um, empires rise, they fall, they rise, they fall, they rise, they fall. I want to break the cycle. Like that is just like an evil genius talking, and it's scary. Like I'm just like, I don't know if I'm more scared of Thrawn at this point or of Baylan. I think I'm more scared of Baylan at this moment. After some of the dialogue he said, I'm like he doesn't even mean to be menacing like that, but he just comes off that way, and it's just scary. So yeah, I think Baylan for me, I really, really, I think this was for me his best episode, just because he was talking about his kind of like philosophies of the Jedi and just the way he is now. It totally reminds me of Terran Malicos from Jedi Fallen Order, and he's like this, Jedi in hiding from the Purge, and he like turned to the dark side for help, and wants to gain power through dark magic, through the witches and stuff. And Baylan is kind of looking at that in a way. So when he says that the witches are leaving, and he's like, they're leaving from the power here. So totally reminded me of Terra Malicos. So I wonder if Dave Filoni got inspiration from that, because Terra Malicos was on Dathomir, and
Sure.
and this guy's on a similar planet. So, but yeah, I think this is Baylan's best episode in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to see where his arc goes this season, because he's just been such a great addition to this cast of familiar characters, but he's been that new character that we're sort of. I mean, we're asking questions about everyone, but him to be a new character and bring in a really nice energy to the show, and something, an extra layer of intrigue to the narrative, I think is great. And yeah, I guess the episode ends with Thrawn finds out that, okay, you've been followed and something's going to go down. Is it going to be in this galaxy? Is it going to be in our galaxy? Like, we don't know. And he says, give me everything, everything you know about Ahsoka Tano, because I think we're going to see Thrawn show a display of his dominance, I suppose, within battle, where he's like, tell me everything I need to know about Ahsoka Tano. He'll learn everything, go, all right, this is how I'm going to defeat her. He'll do it. Then everyone's going to go, okay, Thrawn is bad. Thrawn's a big deal. It's a big deal that Thrawn's coming back. But yeah, I like this ending. I think the show is just paced so well for me, and it doesn't leave me unsatisfied. I'm extremely satisfied with the dose that we got this episode, and I'm just like, bang, next 2 weeks, I'm so ready for it. But I liked this ending. What do you think?
Yeah, no, likewise. He was like, just fire on the whales. Whatever whales are coming in, shoot at them. Shoot at the
With prejudice.
Yeah, oh yeah, with prejudice. I was like, oh, okay, using trigger words there. All right.
Yeah.
But he seemed really angry, and he's got a plan. I'm curious if he will delve into Anakin being, because he figured out, spoiler alert for the books, he figured out Thrawn or Anakin was Darth Vader pretty quickly in Thrawn Alliances, or after in some inference. But so I wonder if they're going to continue with that. And I mean, Thrawn's not dumb. He's worked with both in canon. He's worked with both Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader. So I'm very curious as to, will he play on that card of you lost your master?
Surely he will. Yeah, especially after episode 5.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. So I'm thinking he will. I wonder how he'll play it. I wonder if we'll get like a similar. I don't know. Like I said, Ahsoka's made peace with it, so maybe it won't affect her. But maybe he'll drop some new insight that would, make her act otherwise. We'll see. I'm very curious. I'm very excited for next week. Next week, I'm gonna make sure I have popcorn, and it's gonna be a big event.
Oh yeah, that's it. And unfortunately, no Puffer Pig this week. We're gonna have to wait another week for the Puffer Pig. I'm starting to lose faith, man. I'm starting to lose faith about.
We have 2 episodes. We have 2 episodes. We got this.
2 to go. But yeah, that is our review. Let's give some overall thoughts now and a rating. I'll go first. I'll say, great episode, flawlessly executed, pretty much on all fronts, besides a few tweaks that I think both of us would have made here or there. I'll give it a 9 out of 10. It was bloody good, really enjoyable. Can't wait for next week. Where are you sitting?
Surprising, just surprising story decisions, because I I would have thought they would have saved this towards like maybe even like the last episode, but they sprung and gave us this a bit sooner. Love the characterizations. I think the story is great. Very curious to see what happens next week. Literally, I have on my paper that I have on my index card that I was writing down notes, 9 out of 10 as well. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah, we're on the same page there. And next week is just gonna be so. I hope it's gonna be so good because this week I genuinely my hype was low because I'm like, oh, I feel like it's just gonna be a filler episode, but just
Yeah.
no, like they're just kicking and swinging every single week, and we have to really appreciate that because there's been times when we've sat here and been like, man, this was such a dud of an episode, like it just went nowhere. We went in all different directions, but move forward, and we just keep moving forward, and this
Yeah.
this
Week after
totally feels
week.
like. Exactly, and this definitely feels like a part one, part two, part three, you could sit down and watch this as an entire movie if you wanted to. So
Yeah.
I love
Oh,
that.
we got to do that when this series is over. I've been fantasizing about like watching this in full ever since really the first 2 episodes. Really quick, one more thought. I was so worried for a second that this episode was going to be a Huyang flashback episode when he's like, "Would you like to hear a story?" I was like, "Oh no, please, please don't don't do this to us, Dave." Thank God they didn't do that.
Quick
But yeah,
thought for me.
yeah, go.
Space whales at the very beginning of the hyperspace scene, that like multicolor that Rebels introduced.
Mm.
Amazing. That look, I
Mm.
wish I played out for 10 minutes. I was sitting there mesmerized. Awesome stuff.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. But that is Ahsoka episode 6. We are just loving this series. This is probably the funnest I think either of us have had covering a show, just because week to week, it's just so
Yes.
enjoyable, so
It's
much to talk
enlightening.
about, and yeah, it's hitting us in the feels. We're absolutely loving it. If you haven't already, please like the video. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. If you're an audio listener, we'd really appreciate a 5-star review, a follow, all that. You can follow Mike at all_Star Wars, me at Star Wars _exchange. You can't follow me there, but where you can follow me is at Star Wars _exchange. And you can follow the podcast page, which is at the SW Exchange, where we're a bit light on for content at the moment in terms of life's been getting crazy and we're a bit busy, but we're going to get back on it as soon as we can. So yeah, stick around. And I think we already said thanks for 500 followers, but if we haven't already, thanks for 500 followers. Yeah, we're loving this. We'll see you guys next week. May the force be with you. See you later.